Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I will now call our Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for January the 21st to order. And it is customary for us, as I have said many times, to begin our meetings with a prayer by a commissioner. During this time, you're welcome to stand and join us in that prayer. You're welcome to use this time to have your own prayer. You're welcome to use it as a moment of silence if you like. And after the prayer, we will stand and do a pledge of allegiance to the flag. And at this time, I'll call on Commissioner Dan Stone for the invocation. Thank you.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day, Lord. We thank you for life and health and strength and all the things you provide for us each and every day. Lord, we just pray that today, Lord, you would be with us as we are here to conduct the business in Nash County, Lord. We just pray that everything that we say and do here is pleasing in your sight, and Lord, it's for the betterment of our fellow man and the citizens of Nash County. So we just pray that everything we do is in your will. Lord, we just pray now that you will be with us during the rest of this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cone, Commissioner Outlaw. Brief explanation. The second meeting that we have some of the months in the year is primarily for us to have a outside presenter to present to the board and an inside presenter as well on one of our departments a lot or one of our affiliates. And we generally hold it in our conference room in the back, but with the new technology in this room, the decision has been made to start holding all of our meetings out here, which I think is good because a lot of times these presenters need ability to make presentations, PowerPoints or whatever it may be. But, and then of course we naturally have some items that get put on the agenda during the 2-week span between the two meetings that we also take care of. We attempt to keep the meetings pretty short. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And I hope today will be one of those, even though Commissioner Leggett told me she was going to put dinner in a crock pot before she left home, thinking she would get home late, but I hope I surprise you, Commissioner Leggett.
We all go home with her.
We'll go home with her. That's correct. But we're very pleased today to have an outside presenter with some information that I think the board and the citizens here would very much enjoy. It's a very exciting project for Nash County, and at this time, I'd like to call on Rachel Evans to make a presentation from the North Carolina DOT, and it is concerning the project on Sunset Avenue, Eastern Avenue, out in the area of our community college and the widening of that. And I'm interested to hear her tell us when the scheduled driving classes will start to take place to teach us all how to drive around a roundabout. So I hope you brought that information with you today, Ms. Evans. Pleased to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me to be here and update you. Last time I was here was last January, so it's been a year, and there's been a lot of progress on this project and just a few changes. So last we met, we just had the public meeting. That was in December of 2018. And since then, we went through the design build procurement process on this project and went through that process, and in October 15th of 2019, the project was let, and in November it was awarded to the Barnhill and HDR design build team. So there's been a few changes since then due to funding. U5996, the old carriage leg of the project, was removed from the project. It's still being designed and will be constructed, and Russell Broadwell will be presenting that after my presentation on this. So otherwise than that, the project limits have not changed on this project. It extends from Nashville along Eastern Avenue, Sunset Avenue, across 95 to Halifax Avenue. And then we'll be doing some work on 95 to extend the CD lanes that are on 95 from 64. Those will be extended south of Sunset Avenue Bridge, which will be an interchange now. And we'll do some bridge rehab work on the bridges over Stony Creek north of 64, and then the railroad bridges south of Sunset Avenue. So through this project, there were numerous key design considerations that were of concern to the department and to the residents, those being traffic control during construction, utilities, right-of-way impacts, and constructability. And the winning team, Barnhill and HDR, went through and made some slight adjustments to the preliminary plans to improve upon those plans to make traffic control and utility and right-of-way impacts less and constructability easier. So at the public meeting in December, y'all were presented with this preliminary design of the Peanut Roundabout at Freight Drive to give full access to Freight Drive to the I-95 interchange and give them full access to Sunset East and West. And we had proposed doing a staged construction of the bridge to the north. Barnhill and HDR went through and expounded upon that and approved by doing a new bridge to the north, so it eliminates stage construction, so traffic will be maintained on the Sunset Avenue Bridge while the new bridge is being built to the north. And they converted the Peanut Roundabout to the conventional round Peanut Roundabout and have realigned Freight Drive. And these were done to, basically, and also Banner Way was separated out of the Peanut Roundabout, so now it has access to Sunset outside of the roundabout. And these were done to improve pedestrian access after construction and also to improve constructability during construction, and to also remove the bridge construction and the roundabout construction out of traffic. So it makes it easier for them to build it and maintain traffic and safer. Another slight change was on the roundabout. So the roundabouts are exactly what was shown, but there was a slight chicane approach was added, which was not in the preliminary design. And these chicanes were added to basically slow down traffic as they're coming to the roundabout. So it's just an additional safety feature per national guidance. Also, there's a few of the roundabouts were shifted, their alignments were shifted. So there's one at East Old Spring Hope Road on Eastern Avenue, and the other one was at Arrow Road on Sunset Drive Avenue. Those were both shifted to simplify maintenance of traffic during construction and just make it easier to construct these. And the goal is to be able to build those out of traffic, and then when traffic's flip-flop, they can put them into the roundabout easier. It'll just be quicker. Also, Barnhill and HDR strive to make some reduction in environmental impacts. So there is a culvert just east of the Walmart in Nashville, and the original had basically a wetland, it's called Wetland A on the slide, was completely eliminated with the preliminary design. But Barnhill Design Build team went through and came up with a design that helped to minimize its impact. So they were able to save almost an acre of wetlands on the project and 180 feet of streams. Another area where they wanted to minimize impacts was at the Stony Creek Cemetery. Based on the preliminary information we had, there were no graves that were near the road, so we were not anticipating impacting any graves, but they just wanted to make sure that cemetery was just not impacted or the impacts were minimized, so they have added a retaining wall there at the entrance to help reduce those impacts. And then, so Barnhill and HDR came through, the design build team looked at how to build this project and build it the easiest for the community and to, tighten up the construction timeline. So they're going to focus while they're going through the design and right-of-way utility acquisition process on the majority of Eastern and Sunset. They'll be able to do the rehab work, the rehab bridge work over for the Stony Creek bridges and for the railroad bridges. And then they'll go through and start construction on the far western end of the project, starting in Nashville, and start the widening working from west to east. And then the third segment of the project is the construction of the bridge over 95 and the extension of the CD lanes and the interchange work. So this graphic shows their, how they will construct the Sunset Avenue Bridge and how they'll deal with 95. So the first work areas will be out of traffic. They'll be to the sides, working on the bridge. And then that's phase 1, step 1. And then phase 1, step 2 will be building, adding the bridge over 95. And there will be some nightly road closures for some off-site detour work because we cannot construct with traffic under a bridge. So they'll be detoured. And that will happen Monday through Sunday from 11:59 p.m. to 5 a.m. as allowed per the contract. And off-site detours will utilize proposed ramps, Sunset Avenue, Old Carriage Road, or Winstead Avenue and US 64. And this is just another depiction of how the existing bridge here with existing traffic, and then the new bridge will be built to the north of it, so there'll be no impacts. Here's the intersection of Eastern and Sunset Avenue with Old Carriage. So Old Carriage is running north-south, and Sunset's running east-west. There are ongoing efforts to minimize impacts to businesses and homeowners. We know this is a very important part to this community, that these gas stations and Hardee's and other businesses and the village of Westry Crossings, that we do minimal impacts. So we're, just have ongoing efforts to minimize those impacts. So the milestone schedule for this project is date of availability started November 25th, 2019. The design build team plans to have design and permitting completed by October of 2020. And then segment 2, its substantial completion, which is 50% completion of the project, is estimated to be done December 15th, 2022. And that's from Nashville to Old Carriage Road intersection. That will all be completed by December 15th, 2022. And then the segment 1, the bridge rehab work will be completed August 23rd of 2021. And then segment 3, the Sunset Avenue Bridge and the CD lanes and ramps and loops, those will be completed in 2022. So the bridge will be completed in March and the ramps and loops in October. And with a final completion date, so that'll be the leg from Old Carriage to Halifax Road, that will be completed June 30th, 2023, with a final completion date of June 30th, 2023. Do y'all have any questions? I know it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Mr. Bellfield?
In connection with Sunset Avenue out to Old Carriage Road, I've been noticing we have quite a bit of traffic out there.
Yes, sir.
Already. And you're gonna put a corridor in there so that traffic can come off of 95 onto that avenue. Your design, are you planning on putting stoplights at all those streets that enter there? Because it's tough for traffic getting out there now.
So,
on Sunset Avenue. And I see a lot of people taking a chance. I don't shoot on out there and they're out in front of a car and get hit.
So this project will actually be a 4-lane, so from Nashville to Halifax Road along Eastern and Sunset Avenue, it will be a 4-lane divided highway with roundabouts provided. And there will be some leftovers provided occasionally, but mainly the roundabouts will be the new intersections. So the only place we'll have a signalized intersection will be at Old Carriage and Sunset Avenue. And that will have a signal.
Yeah, but
a lot
you're
of-
pulling more traffic in on Sunset Avenue that's coming into Rocky Mountain.
Yes, sir.
And that's going to increase the traffic, and it's bad enough now, especially on Wednesdays, Fridays. It's I almost said terrible, but I won't go that far. But it causes a lot of people, they have to sit there, and there's a line on Jones Street sitting there waiting to try to get out, and every now and then want to try to shoot out there. And they got to get in that middle turn lane to keep from getting hit. And it's something that you ought to watch and look at it before you propose to do that.
Isn't that, Jones Street, isn't that further east than Halifax Road?
It is.
Okay, so that's outside our project limits, but what you're talking about, people trying to make left turns, so they'll be,
It's DOT's project to pull that traffic off of I-95. It seemed like to me, they ought to be concerned about the safety there, which means that it would be a lot more safe if there were stoplights there where traffic can go both ways.
so last time I was here, you actually asked about Jones Street, and we had Andy Brown look at it, and they are watching that. It is an area of interest and concern for the city of Rocky Mount and for DOT, but the warrants haven't been met yet for a signal. But I can go back and see where that's at and follow up with you. But addressing people trying to take left turns on the section of Eastern Avenue of this project, it'll be much safer now because they'll make a right turn, they'll go to a roundabout and do their U-turn. So they'll make a left using the U-turn. So it'll significantly improve the safety and the mobility through this corridor. But thank you for mentioning that. I'll look into it and I'll follow up. I don't have your contact information, but I have Mr. Outlaw, so I can get that information to you.
Well, it's really, you ought to take a look at it and get your traffic count now and expect how much it's going to increase.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Evans, I think really what he's addressing is from, of course, Halifax all the way back into Rocky Mount, up to 64 Business. Is there, I don't recall it being on our MPO plan, but is there any project that's been looked at in the future for that corridor to do away with that center lane?
I do not know, but I can look into that
Yeah,
and
I
get
hadn't
some
seen
more
it anywhere.
information. I haven't heard anything. I just know that he specifically mentioned Jones Street, and I asked Andy, and he said they're watching it, but it didn't meet the warrants at that time.
Yep. Yeah, it's an unsafe corridor now, as we all know, even though the accidents are generally minor in nature. And of course, I know we look at the more serious accidents to where we allot funding for, but that's just probably something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But
Yes,
I don't
sir.
see it in any plan moving forward, which
Yeah.
MPO gets a real far out forecast. So it probably just not on the funding plan quite yet.
Yes, sir.
That would be a difficult one to sell anyway, to put a median all the way through there, but of course, we're doing it all over the state, so I know that they will be coming at some point.
Yes, sir.
Other questions from Commissioner, Mr. Outlaw?
Yes,
Just
sir.
wondering, how far in advance of actually starting each phase will the property owners in that immediate area be notified?
Of the actual construction, so we're,
Going to get put on the
well,
spot,
we've
Jeremy.
sent out so they're going to go through the process of sending out, so property owners will be alerted to when, that people will be out on their properties doing additional investigative work, additional surveys, that kind of stuff, so the beginning. But the actual beginning of construction, we had discussed, we have a website with DOT, and we can update that and provide information. There's also going to be some public outreach pieces. We haven't talked about the specifics, but we do want the community to be well-informed of of expectations.
Should be some notification in advance. And the second thing I wanted to mention is, could we get a copy of your presentation
Yes,
that you
sir.
gave today? Thank
yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
I sent
You
it to
got it.
Stacy,
Great.
and she can provide it to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the time and effort you've put into dealing with me over the past year or so on this particular project. I really do. You've been very
It's-
patient.
It's been great. Thank you. You've been great to work with.
Thank
Thank you for letting me come and talk to y'all.
Thank you very much.
Just one minute.
sir.
Let me see if I got any more questions from commissioners, if I could. Rachel, anything else from anyone? I notice you have some of your Barnhill team with you today.
I do.
Do you want to introduce those?
I
To put
can.
you on the spot?
I can. So I have Jeremy Whitehurst with Barnhill Construction Company. Then I have Paul Robbins and Warren Lamb from HDR.
Okay.
And we also have our new division engineer, Kevin Bowen, with us.
Okay, great.
How about the other DOT people? I know Miss Richardson is particularly fond of one of your DOT members.
So Bobby Liverman, our district
Lot of
engineer,
patience.
and then
I
Greg
am too.
Keeter. And Greg Keeter with the, he's going to be the resident engineer on this project.
Okay, great. Thank you a lot. Appreciate you being here. Second part.
Good
evening.
afternoon. My name is Russell Broadwell, and I'm the project engineer for the U5996 project. This project was originally part of the design-build project, but due to funding, it was split out into its traditional bid-build project. So there was a few changes on the U5996 portion we wanted to let you know about, as well as our updated schedule. So here you can see that Old Carriage Road is a portion in red that was split out from the design-build project. Our current estimated construction cost is $24 million. We had final right-of-way plans were completed last December, and right-of-way acquisition is currently underway. We're also finishing our final engineering design plans. The let for the project is on July this year. We are on schedule for let. Originally, U5996, the project limits started south of Sunset Avenue, but when U5996 was pulled out of the design-build project, it was determined that the project should be shortened to about 1,200 feet north of Eastern Avenue and Sunset Avenue intersection. This break will allow us to, the design-build project, time to investigate alternate solutions for the intersection of Eastern Avenue and Old Carriage Road. The next major change that was done in the project, the original preliminary engineering had the replacement of the bridge of Old Carriage Road over US 64 in place. With initial analysis, it was determined that building the bridge to the east would allow us to not need a stage construction project to allow it to have a simplified traffic control as well as a shorter construction period. The preliminary engineering that was presented last year had Old Carriage Road getting back on existing alignment at Carriage Trail. Our current design, we're continuing on new alignment just to the east. The existing roadway is through here right now. And this was done so that we can achieve a no-rise condition for the flood at the creek, as well as it allows us to be less disturbing to traffic for a construction period. And currently, we're getting back onto the existing alignment just before the creek. And so here's the existing road just to the west and the new alignment just to the east. We anticipate this project will take about 2.5 years to complete, so it should be finished in mid-2023. You have any other questions?
Questions from commissioners?
I got just one. So on Old Carriage, coming from Sheets headed to 64, there was a roundabout planned for the first entrance into the community college. Is that still there?
That is still there. That has
Okay.
not changed.
And the widening of the road goes to that point or beyond, or?
It'll be 4-lane to 64.
All the way to 64? Okay, thank you.
It goes to 3-lane after the
Gotcha.
westbound ramp of 64.
Other questions from commissioners? Russell, would you go back through a little bit slower while we did this project, not design, build, and doing it the conventional way? It sounded like you were trying to do it because funding wasn't available, but you end up at the same place at the end. So what does that do? Does it buy you a year of funding? I just don't quite comprehend
Yeah.
why you would have done that.
U-5996 was slated for NC Build bond project. And by doing it traditional, we're able to get it let sooner and actually have construction start sooner. We're at more control over the schedule by doing that. So we're trying to utilize NC Build bond funding.
So it's really the funding source that drove that decision?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I might understand that then. Apparently, just listening to both projects and building or changing alignment of several of the bridges, we must have learned something out on 301, I think, probably.
I think so.
Is that correct? Everybody shaking their head. I think it's a wise idea to do it that way. Of course, I don't get involved in what it costs extra to do it that way. Any other questions? I certainly appreciate you being here as well, and good to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to working with you over the next almost 3 years. Outlaw, anything else? on
I
that
just
presentation?
appreciate you guys coming out today and updating us on the project very much.
Next item is, I see it's EMS, but I went from 4 to 7. Is that by design, I guess?
Don't pay attention to the numbers. I
Okay,
apologize.
don't pay attention to the number, that's good. I'll pause just one moment. We'll make sure I
Afternoon.
didn't miss a sheet. Good afternoon. Welcome, sir.
We look forward to this opportunity to show you some of the technology we use in our department, thanks to y'all. I tried to test my memory, which I'm almost afraid to do, but back in 2006, when we went to the first mobile data terminals in our ambulances, if I'm not mistaken, it was more than a $600,000 increase the next year in ambulance collections. We had anticipated a 20% increase, and it was over 30%. And I don't know how we would function without them today. Certainly, our personnel is our number one asset, ambulances, defibrillators, and as you'll see with Scott's presentation, these computers are an absolute necessity. And I want to thank y'all for that. We have the state-of-the-art computers. I do want to mention Lee Davenport. Our battalion chiefs on shift have some additional responsibilities other than looking after 24 people and about 80 calls a day. And Lee was volunteered as our technology battalion chief, helping us look after all of our technology, whether it's phone or computers. And also we have Jamie Moss, who looks after our vehicle fleet. We have David Talbot looks after our buildings and keeps Scott updated on any of that. And then our battalion chief in Rocky Mount, and Jeremy, looks after our supplies. So we've got those spread out. But I did want to mention to Lee, working with our IT department hand in hand, they really keep those computers in working condition. And these new ones, as he said, coming upstairs, have been a real blessing from the ones that we had in the past. So I'll turn it over to Scott. But thank you, Lee, for your support.
Thank you, Brian.
So, good afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
I feel like I've been up here every month for the last, I don't know, several, but it's been good stuff, so, you know. I know we had a request to come in and update you guys on the laptop project that you funded for this year, and put a little bit of information together, because it does get a little technical, and if you're like me, sometimes seeing it in a picture form helps things make sense when you get into a lot of technical jargon. And if it wasn't for Lee and his inherent ability to understand all that technical jargon, we would be in big trouble. He does a fantastic job working with the MAS department and being available to our staff in the 24-hour environment. And so most of the information and everything you see is credited to Lee, because most of this was his project and his work. So just to give you an example, this is the laptop. It's a Panasonic Toughbook 33. We go with that particular model because it has proved itself without a shadow of doubt over the years. The previous Toughbooks we had lasted well beyond their anticipated service life, and thanks to hard work of Lee keeping them going, and we did have to spend some money to make that happen, but when you have laptops that are required to work 24/7 in all weather with 100 different people laying hands on them, that's asking a lot for any kind of computer or any kind of technology. So some of the benefits of this particular unit is there's a larger screen on it than what we had before, which makes visibility much easier. When you have sunlight and there are nighttime both going on in its use, this particular unit does a great job handling that. We have a dual battery system in it where the operating lifespan off charge is longer than what we had, so that significantly improves our ability to function. And then, of course, the touchscreen ability of this laptop. So the screen on it, we have the ability to pull the pin and actually write on here. And as you'll see in the presentation, we have a lot of requirements to collect a lot of signatures that are mandated for our billing process. So this allows that to happen digitally and streamlines the whole process for us. So as I mentioned before, these are used on every call, every day, 24/7. We have 28 vehicles. Not all 28 are in service all at the same time, but they rotate through fairly frequently. 89 full-time staff. That does include our part-time staff. 24/7 operation, all weather, and this past year we're at about 24,000 calls. So there's an excessive amount of use on these, even above probably what the Toughbook brand is actually designed for. So we certainly put it through their paces. And you see on here pictures of it mounted in the truck, and then one of our staff members, this is Ms. Brooke Barnes, who's one of our EMTs, that's in the back of the truck utilizing it. So some basic things what they're used for, while en route to call, we're getting pre-arrival information from our 911 center, mapping and location information. Obviously, finding the emergency or finding the patient is extremely critical, because nothing else goes well if we can't get to where we need to be. Call status and then times, that's things that we track, not only for operational performance, but for quality improvement efforts. Obviously, one of the most critical things is to get to the person having the emergency in an efficient manner and in a time-sensitive manner. We have to balance response with safety and a number of other things. So having these on board allows us to track those numbers automatically, and we can run reports to see what our response times are like. Patient care, they're significantly involved in that process as far as documentation, our workflow charting as far as what particular treatments and skills and medications and different things are being done, who's doing it, what time, so on and so forth. And then, EKG transmission, which is a vital piece. Just a couple months ago, I was up here with the ED director, Ms. Kim Langston, and we were talking about EKG transmission and things like that. And it's an absolute necessity now to provide the level of care that we provide our citizens when it comes to heart attacks and things. That way they have the physicians and the staff and the cath lab already have the EKG in their hand, and we're still riding down the road. Quality assurance, having this as the platform that we do all of that reporting on allows us to have a central point, a central database to pull information, to evaluate performance, and then to go in and make improvements, whether that's by process or individual performance or whatever's required. We can drill that down any way we want to. And then, of course, revenue. All the work we do, all the reporting that happens, all the information that's collected comes into the laptop and then is exported out basically through the system and ends up in our revenue process. So if we didn't have these units to collect it in an efficient way in the 24/7 environment, our revenue would not be nearly as efficient and effective as it is now. So, I mentioned a lot of these things already, but, the primary purposes and use. That was one things I wanted to make sure there was a list specifically on. So obviously monitoring our CAD, our dispatch information, utilizing mapping and software and directions for scene locations. Like I said, we got to get there. Nothing else really matters if we don't get to where we need to be. Creating patient electronic health records. They're legitimate health records. HIPAA is a big deal for us, and those records integrate in with the hospital. Communicating with our cardiac monitors, I mentioned that, transmitting EKGs, and initiating the billing record. So that's the summary list to itself of how important these things are. So when we look at how we monitor our CAD information, we have a live screen in what we call the mobile version of CAD on these laptops. And it's the same information that our 911 center telecommunicators receive. They put it into the system and it becomes visible to us. That includes obviously call type, location information, and it's not just address. There may be additional things like we're going sent to a specific address, but the patient is actually 400 yards out past the house, down into a field in an embankment or something like that. So we get very detailed information that way. And we can get that without having to use a lot of radio traffic, because there's a lot of units on the call at any particular time. Patient information, we get that in a secure way, so to protect privacy as well. Location history, which can be very important. If we're going to a location that has had multiple calls at that location and there seems to be a trend of what kind of call that is, that can be very important. From an EMS perspective, most importantly, do we need to sit back and wait for law enforcement to get there first, even if it is coming out as a medical call? Because sometimes environments can be unstable. Knowing what other units are going, that definitely helps with organization and response, and then, of course, safety information. There'll be times where the telecommunicators will get a vital piece of information, maybe something that is safety related, and it's not something they want to broadcast over the radio. So they'll say, check your CAD for additional information on this, and making sure we see that. The ongoing switchover right now is happening. The 911 staff, Bryant Fisher and Kelly Portis in particular, are working very hard moving from our current Vision AirCAD system over to the Zerker system. Staff training is ongoing right now, and we're looking forward to that changeover and implementation. The CAD we have been using is pretty much going out of date, and there's a lot of limitations to what we can do. We look forward to the Zerker system being up to date and having even more resource and availability for what it's going to offer. Mapping, it's pretty simple, turn-by-turn directions, exactly where it is. It's geo-validated information, so we know exactly where we're going. And you see Ms. Brooke is modeling for us again in that picture. But that's pretty much you see is the passenger, not the driver. The passenger of the ambulance there, the partner is on there getting to make sure they have the correct location information and conveying that to the driver to make sure they get there as quickly as possible. Our health record system, we use ESO as the software. It's by far, I think, as far as the user goes, is the easiest and most efficient way to collect information for us. Our crews can turn out a lot of reports every day in a very efficient way, and that's reflective to the quality of scoring they get during their quality assurance process, and also ultimately with our billing. If we're missing information or things aren't written down properly, that can immediately affect billing, as in like suddenly now we have to do an addendum to it during a Medicare appeals process. Things like that can get very cumbersome. So we try to avoid that, obviously, and doing it right the first time, and this system helps us with that. The HIPAA compliance piece, you hear news stories from time to time about EMS services or an ambulance that lost a laptop, or, and recently there's been one, I forget what state it was in, it was not North Carolina, but I think it was the OIG federally put a $65,000 fine on this on this service because they lost a laptop that did not have encrypted systems on it that was holding patient care information. There's been no evidence that there was any breach. The laptop, as far as they know, is still sitting in a ditch somewhere on the side of the road. But we, with the hardware as in the laptop and the software that you allow us to use, we have an encrypted system that should hopefully never be a problem. It would be very difficult for us to have a breach utilizing the system as it is set up now, because we do not store patient information on the laptop. Once they finish the report, it's gone. It's not available on the laptop without a lot of authentication process logging into the system, and all of that obviously is compliant. The data exchange with the hospital, as soon as they finish the report and it goes up into the cloud, into the big room of servers, wherever that is, it becomes available to the hospital and then also attaches to the patient's hospital medical record as well. So as the physicians and nurses are looking at this patient information, even like up on the floor after they've been admitted, they can actually see our record as well and see what we did and so on. So they get a complete picture of the care that was provided. And in turn, we get information back from the hospital on what their ultimate outcome was and what their diagnosis ultimately was after they've had the benefit of being in the hospital with all the additional assessment capabilities it has. And that also allows us to run more quality assurance process. How good are we at assessing things? How often are we actually correct? Do our assumptions on what's going on make up or align with what the hospital diagnosis is? And then creating the billing report. Obviously, that's important as well. So all that information in there is collected and verified, and we can set up rules within this that require them to collect certain things that we know are going to be required for an efficient billing process. So just some infographics here about how our system works here. Our Philips cardiac monitor defibrillators, they work wirelessly and transmit data into our patient care reporting system, into this laptop. And that's important because the hardware requirements of the laptop have to meet the same requirements that allow this to happen. So that information comes in wirelessly. It automatically fills in certain blocks and spaces within the report, so you limit keystroke errors and what have you, human error type things. We limit those as best we can. And EKG data goes through as well. So anything that's been on the monitor shows up on the laptop and is accessible there as well. Transmission of the EKG, it goes into the laptop, and then the laptop ultimately is working through the internet system in a encrypted manner. It sends it up into the cloud, and that picture up there, that room full of servers, is the best I could do to come up with the idea of what the cloud might look like. And then it's instantly transmitted back to the hospital. In the picture where you see hospital there, that's the same receiving terminal that Nash ED has set up. It looks like a phone handset on the side. They pick that up, that's the radio, and they can see the information right there. So there can be a dialogue between the receiving nurse and the paramedic in the back of the truck live and based on what everybody's seeing, or possibly even the physician. Billing and revenue. So, this is an extremely important piece to what we're doing here. We want to be as cost efficient and effective as we can. And to do that, we want to make sure we take advantage of any potential revenue streams that are out there within insurance or benefits or anything else that may be available. So I mentioned collecting signatures. That's a huge piece because if we don't have all the appropriate signatures in place, it's going to be an automatic denial of payment. So we make sure we have those. We scan and attach billing information. So there maybe it's what we call the front sheet, but the demographic page at the hospital that has all the patient information, phone numbers, addresses. It does not have Social Security numbers anymore. They changed that for security purposes, but it also has all their insurance information and all that. We take that sheet, we scan it in, and attach it to our patient care report to give our billing office another way to verify all that information. We've already collected it and inputted it, but it's one more layer to make sure everything's correct. Our Our district chiefs and our station officers in combination work every day to audit every single call for documentation, quality, and billing purposes. So based on that, every call is audited and typically sent to billing within 24 hours. And it could be, if it's a light day, it might be 50 calls they have to look at. On a heavy day, it might be 120. So they're doing that on top of actually running calls themselves in many cases. But that shows the dedication they have to make sure that the billing process is as efficient and effective as it can be. And to the example, in the 18-19 revenue year, when you look at billing revenue, you look at the Medicaid cost reimbursement that comes back in, and you look at debt set-off revenue, we were just under $4 million. It was like $3,909,000 some. Every penny of that has gone through multiple stages of auditing and filtering, trying to make sure that we can get everything we can get back. So the project, just because you may not remember, you guys are always working with lots of projects at a time, but we bought 28 of these laptops with 28 vehicle mounts because they all had to be switched out to meet the new computer. We got a full 5-year extended warranty on all this gear, and to make sure that we don't have to go back and ask for additional money for expensive repairs and things that could happen over that time. And that breaks down. It's about $4,600 per laptop, but that also does include the vehicle mount and the extended warranty cost on that. And that was worked through state contract price. So our implementation of that, in July, once we got the monies were available, we did the ordering. We got them in September. Lee worked with MIS to get them all set up. They worked hard on all 28 of those. And then in October, we did staff training and did installation, and they've been in the field since then with basically no problems. They've worked exceptionally well. So the heart of a lot of the operation that we have are the laptops, and without them, we wouldn't be able to function nearly as good as we do. So we certainly appreciate your support in that, and I know the staff does. Everybody seems to be tickled to death. One of the little neat things on here I was going to show you is it's a small thing, but it certainly helps. If I can.
Help when you turn it around the other way.
That's right. The screen actually comes off. So when we talk about simple things like, hypothetically, I'll say we go see little Miss Sally, who's 92 years old, and we got to get her to sign 3 different lines to make sure that her insurance works right. Because we don't want her calling and having a fret because she got a bill that she didn't need to get. Being able to do that and take that in and put it in a comfortable position in front of Miss Sally for her to sign goes a long way. So doesn't seem like much, even though it's kind of a neat thing to do, to be able to do. It makes a huge difference in the community and how we can support them, and we don't put them in awkward situations and cause unnecessary frustration and things. So, so like I said, I know the staff certainly appreciates it, and I know I do with your support, and I hope that we're doing everything we can to show you guys that the money that you invested is worthwhile. So, thank you.
Any questions of Scott?
Yeah.
Mr. Belfield?
Can you extend the warranty on?
I don't believe so, because it comes with a 3-year. We already did extend it to 5, and we may be able to find somebody that would provide a warranty, but technology changes over so fast that probably in 5 years, these are going to be wore out and obsolete, and you probably can't hardly find parts for them and things like that. There's some speculation on my part in that, but that's the same situation we were in with the previous laptops, where we were having to pay out of pocket to the tune of, I think the last year we had the old ones was about $15,000 we paid to try to keep the old ones functioning, because we couldn't get warranties on them anymore. So.
It seems the way technology is going. Another question is about health records. Don't you have to get permission to track those health records?
We
To have them in
automatic.
your access?
Yeah, we are automatically included within the HIPAA law group because we're considered a healthcare provider within that group. So if you come to us asking for information, all we have to do is make sure you're aware that we are going to follow the HIPAA requirements, and that's something that we certainly try to do. It's like when you go to the doctor's office, they hand you a piece of paper that has all the fine print about the HIPAA laws on it. That's pretty much the requirement that we have to meet. So.
Well, what happens if you handling a patient with no insurance at all?
If we have that, they go into what we call self-pay, and we, by the board's instructions, our billing office specifically tries to work with them the best they can, and they may set up payment plans, they may look for other options, but we certainly do not have, the balance between getting the money that has been billed versus the customer care and support of the citizens, and I think it's certainly met. So if they're paying $5 a month, I think we work with them at that point.
Other questions?
I want to make a comment.
Sure.
The chairman asked me to coordinate these mid-month meetings, and I appreciate that opportunity. And what I try to do is recommend presentations, programs that I think have some value. And I think today we have seen two that have a lot of value. They're interesting, they're informative. But I was especially interested in this project because we made a significant investment, the county did, in these laptops, and I wanted you guys to share the benefit of this system with the board and the county. And you've done that. And anything that adds information for an individual that you're transporting that would likely increase the outcome to be more positive, I think is a good thing.
Yes,
And I appreciate you coming today, and I would tell the board that our next mid-month is April, so if you have a program that you think fits the bill, being interesting, informative, not just to have a program, then I'd appreciate your input, and Stacy would as well. Thanks.
Other thoughts or comments, board members?
Thank you for
Well,
taking the
then-
time and presenting to us. It's very informative. I'm very pleased to see that this transition was successful.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So, yeah, we certainly don't take, unfortunately, a lot of things we do is expensive, and we are very aware of that. And we certainly try to take that to heart and do the best we can with it. So.
Yeah. I think this is very helpful information, and I appreciate it because, as Commissioner Outlaw said, it is a significant investment by the county taxpayers, and it's good that we keep updates on the progress, how it's working, advantages of it, and we don't look at maybe any disadvantage, but at what the advantages are. And we appreciate what you're doing.
So thank you.
All right, we thank you for being here.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Brian. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, which is an item that has been a long time worked on by Thomas in Parks and Recreation. Thomas, welcome, and glad to have you here making this presentation today. I know you're glad to make it to us.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As the chairman stated, it's been a work in progress. We've been meeting since October, discussing regarding the Nash County assuming the responsibilities of programming youth and adult athletics at Glover Park. With this merger, we will avoid overlapping athletic services and provide a more cost-effective services to the citizens of Nashville and Nash County. At this time, I will go over the main items of the interlocal agreement, which was approved by Nashville Town Council on January 7th, 2020. If you have any questions as I go over each section, just feel free to chime in. The first section that I would like to go over is operation and maintenance. Nash County should assume all duties and responsibilities related to operation, maintenance, management, and supervision of Glover Park, including but not limited to supplying personnel and staff, maintaining and repairing the facilities, managing and supervising athletic activities, events, and programs at Glover Park. Item B, Nash County should have access to and use of the storage buildings, office space, restrooms, and the concession stand area located at Glover Park. Item C, Nash County should establish rules, policies, and procedures for Glover Park in conjunction with the town, and the town hereby agrees to abide by same. Item D, except as otherwise provided herein, all decisions related to the operation of field athletic sports programs, routine maintenance, and management of Glover Park should be in the sole discretion of Nash County. Item E, to avoid the duplication of program offerings, Nash County should not offer any programs other than youth and adult recreational team athletic programs within the city limits of the town of Nashville, and the town should not offer any youth or adult recreational team athletic programs within the city limits of the town of Nashville. And the last item under operation and maintenance, Nash County should install signage at Glover Park directing users to call the Nash County Parks and Recreation Department for field rentals and inquiries about athletic programming. And that pretty much covers the operation and maintenance section. Any questions before we move on to the financing portion of this interlocal agreement?
Questions from commissioners?
Had you rather wait till the end or interrupt you as you go through it, or?
We can talk, as I go through each section and
Okay.
finish each section, we can discuss if y'all have any questions.
Okay,
Any questions on that, Mr. Outlaw?
no, next section.
Okay.
Okay. The next section is financing. Item A, the town should allot in their budget the sum of $20,000 annually for capital improvements to be made at Glover Park, with the town council deciding what capital improvements the money will be spent on. Capital improvements include, but are not limited to, restroom remodeling, roof replacement, fencing and backstop replacement, HVAC replacement, playground equipment replacement, and field lighting replacement. Item B, Nash County should provide scholarships and/or financial assistance for needy participants at Glover Park, as may be determined by Nash County in its sole discretion. Item C, all revenues generated from fees charged for athletic programs, rentals, recreational activities, and events administered by Nash County or any approved third-party organization should be paid to Nash County to be applied to the cost and expenses of the management and operation of Glover Park. By way of example and not limitation, said fees should include shelter and field rentals and fees chargeable for tournaments, program activities, events, and concessions. Item D, events sponsored by the town should be exempt from any rental fees for any portion of the facilities located at Glover Park. Events sponsored by the town should have the first priority after Nash County, but only with prior approval of Nash County. And the last item, the town should be responsible for all water and sewer bills for Glover Park until such time as a water meter be installed by the town at the town's expense. Nash County should be responsible for all electric bills for Glover Park. Any questions on the financing section?
Any questions on that from commissioners?
I think you said something about the county being responsible for maintenance, improvement of the building,
The town is
restroom.
responsible for the capital improvements.
Capital improvement.
Yes, sir.
Up to what, $20,000? Is that what you said?
Well, it states they're going to allot $20,000 in their budget each year. So whether they use those
all
funds or
right.
not, they're going to have it there for capital improvements, and they
Okay.
will approve any capital improvement that our maintenance staff or staff may notice at the park. We have to take that to the town council for them to approve.
Other questions? Mr. Outlaw?
I got 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
On A, the town council decides what capital improvements the money will be spent on. So they're going to contribute $20,000, but that contribution, they're going to have control of where it is spent. What if we have a capital project or a capital need that we feel like takes precedence over what they think is the highest priority. I mean, it seems like they're giving us some money, but they're not really giving it to us.
Well,
Does that make sense?
from the discussions that the town had, I already know they have they are working on replacing the HVAC at Glover Park at the moment as we speak now. So they may be finished with that. But if our staff, say for instance, we go inspect the park, we know that we're going to spend X amount of dollars on the restrooms. We take that to the town council, our list, and I guess, I mean, it's something that we're going to have to work on.
Don't we have a responsibility for capital improvements?
No, the town's responsible for capital
All
improvement.
capital improvements?
Yes, sir. The town is responsible. That's why they're setting aside the $20,000. To my knowledge, the town's responsible for the capital improvement, similar to what we do in Red
They're responsible
Oak.
for all capital improvements. Why are they giving us money for capital improvements?
They're not giving us that money. They're keeping that in their budget. The town, yeah.
So they're not really giving us 20,000.
No, they just allotting it in their budget.
Okay, well, I don't understand why it's even in there, then we're not going to get it, we're not going to use it. They're responsible for what it's for, so.
I think they're setting it aside.
Yeah.
They have it in their budget every year. If some capital improvement needs doing out there, they've got $20,000 already approved and in the budget, so they can go ahead and do it. Like if it was installing a new HVAC system.
So why don't they just accrue it in their budget? Why would they give it, why would they say that it's
It's
Nash County?
designated for the park.
Actually, Mr. Outlaw, it does stay in their budget until such time
Yeah.
as we, we can submit things to them, but then they've got to agree to do that particular
Okay,
thing.
all right, that just seemed confusing to me.
It's a tad bit confusing, I understand that.
It just seems like we're getting 20 designated for us and for capital improvements, but they're responsible for capital improvements, so why do we need the 20?
I think we just want to
My
have those
concern
funds
was-
there so they can have those funds in case a capital improvement pops up. The county know that they have $20,000 in their
Okay,
budget.
that leads me to my next question then, which ties to that. Is this consistent with what we do at other Nash County parks?
It's different at each park.
Oh, I understand it's
yeah.
different in the amount, but in terms of capital improvements, what do we do at Spring Hope?
Well, the Spring Hope pays the county now is $10,000 annually
Yeah.
for capital improvements. And the town of Red Oak and Bailey Middlesex, they're responsible for their own capital improvements. Yeah, they don't give the county any money for
There's no
capital.
concerns about the consistency, we're satisfied with what we've got?
So far, it's been working good.
Okay. Number of events per year, do you have any idea what that would be
Well,
in Nashville?
For
I'm talking
Nashville.
about for Nashville.
For the town of Nashville. During our discussions, it was probably about 3 or 4 events that they want to get on the
Not really
calendar.
that significant.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Other commissioners with questions or concerns?
Okay.
Thomas, the only thing I had, I had a little bit of concern about the $20,000 not rolling, not staying put.
Yes, sir.
But it rolled over each year. And I also want the commissioner to understand that this is a annual contract. At the end of the first year, if we see it's not working good, we can go back to the table and we can renegotiate, or we can discontinue it. And I certainly don't think that would happen. I think, Thomas, because of the fact that it is not rolled, it doesn't stay in their budget, but if they don't spend that $20,000 the next year, they would allot $20,000, it would certainly be the same amount of money. We need to formulate a capital improvement plan for this particular park like we have for all the other entities in the county.
Okay.
And have a short-term and a long-term list of things we want to do, and, try to utilize the funds for the most needed things each year instead of letting it revert back. And of course, understood Nashville got to agree on it, but if we track it and we keep them informed on and give them a long-term capital improvement plan, I just think it would make it work smoother and not let things go that we know need some attention.
Yes, sir.
We could get it done and utilize this money each year.
Yes, sir.
Is what I hope you would do moving forward.
And that's probably the key comment. If you accumulate
Yes,
these
sir.
funds over 4 or 5 years and don't spend it, and then there's a need that requires these funds to be pooled, then it could be taken completely away from capital improvements at the park, because totally under their control.
That's right.
Okay,
Need to have a real monitoring system to monitor what actually need to be done on the part, and try to do something every year.
Okay.
Whatever that may be.
I definitely understand, and I will get with staff and maintenance staff and our staff, and we'll put together a 5-year capital improvement
Yeah,
plan.
track what you're doing in the county. It seems to be working very well.
Okay.
The other question I had, you mentioned concessions, and they are our responsibility. What is your idea? I know we do that a little bit different at each one, too. What's your thoughts on what you're going to do out
Well,
there?
my plans is to contract it out similar to what we do with Red Oak and Bailey and other parts, and I've been in contact with a local vendor, and she's willing to do the concessions at the park during the week and on the weekends at Glover Park.
Okay, so you're going to handle it the same way you've set up the rest of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that seems to be working well. That's all I had on that one. Proceed to equipment.
All righty. Next session we would like to discuss is equipment. It says the town should transfer ownership of the following equipment to Nash County. Football equipment, including but not limited to helmets, balls, pads, uniforms, and tackling dummies. Cheerleading equipment, including but not limited to uniforms, pom-poms, and bags. Soccer equipment, including but not limited to soccer goals, balls, pennies, and uniforms. Baseball equipment, including but not limited to batting tees, balls, bases, batting helmets, catcher's pads, and other catching equipment. Field preparation equipment, including but not limited to drags, rakes, field painting machines, pull-behind sprayer, a John Deere Gator, and 2 Toro lawnmowers. Item B, any and all equipment purchased by Nash County for the management and operation of Glover Park should be the sole property of Nash County. And that concludes that section, the equipment section. Any questions before we move to employment?
Any questions on equipment? Go ahead, sir.
All right. Employment, item A, the park maintenance worker currently employed by the town should be offered employment by Nash County in similar or comparable roles. An estimation of $50,429 additional funds will be needed to cover the following expenses for the remainder of the fiscal year, and that's staff, umpires, officials, athletic equipment and supplies, gas, telephone for the maintenance worker, utilities, equipment maintenance, and park maintenance. Any questions on employment and additional funds added?
Is the 50,000 assuming that we approve it today?
Yes, sir. Well, it was based on January 1st.
So January 1st?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the cost that would be till June the 30th?
Correct.
Okay. So annualized, that would be obviously 100.
Give or take, yeah. Maybe less. The biggest expense is going to be bringing their full-time maintenance under the county's umbrella.
Okay.
All right. Insurance. During the term of this agreement, Nash County shall, at its expense, obtain and keep in full force and effect personal injury and property damage insurance, naming the town as an additional insured, insuring against claims of bodily injury or death and personal injury up to $2 million per occurrence, and property damage arising out of Nash County's operation, management, and maintenance of Glover Park up to $2 million. Item B, during this term of the agreement, the town shall, at its expense, obtain and keep in full force and effect personal injury and property damage insurance, naming Nash County as an additional insured, insuring against claims of bodily injury or death, personal injury or property damage arising out of the town's use of Glover Park. Any questions on the insurance?
I don't think we have any well, we do. Any questions on insurance?
Makes sense.
You good?
No, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the final item is the term, and we pretty much discussed this briefly. This agreement should be effective as the date it is approved and signed by both parties, and should continue in effect for a term of 1 year, at which time town and Nash County agree to meet and determine the future of this agreement. However, the town should first have a 90-day grace period after the agreement becomes effective to move their staff out of Glover Park. So currently they have their staff, their recreation staff is housed at in the middle of Glover Park in the office area. So we're gonna give them a 90-day grace period before we move our staff in.
Okay. Questions on terms?
So no surprises a year from now, you'll keep us kind of
Correct.
updated periodically during the year if there are any issues or concerns with the agreement.
Yes, and my plans as well is to, after each registration period, to kind of go back to the town of Nashville and give them an update on how many participants are participating from the town of Nashville.
I think it's a good expansion of our parks program.
Mr. Durham, is this a rolling thing? Do we have to take action every year, or if no action is taken, it keeps rolling
As it currently written, you're gonna have to take action.
each year? That's what it looked like to me.
So kind of what the
That's what we
council,
want.
what Nashville Council pretty much said at the meetings, that they want to give it a year. Then after a year, they see how it go, maybe enter something long-term.
So I don't have a problem with the year, but
Yeah.
it looks like maybe we could, after the first year, put it where we would be having to do something to stop it rather than to let it keep going. But
Yeah.
we'll settle that when
Okay.
we get to it. After 1 year, okay.
If everything goes smoothly, I
Sure.
think everybody's concerned.
It's kind of like a probationary period.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine.
Other questions?
Yes, I have one
Richardson.
question. I think I missed it in financing. If you could explain item B to us, I'd like to hear that, please.
So basically, the county, and we do this, currently we do this for the other municipalities in the county as well. So if a participant is struggling financially, we do offer some type of scholarship program where the registration is pretty much free. So Nashville, in the past, services were free of charge for all town of Nashville residents. So since they're coming under county's umbrella now, it's going to be $35, which is the same throughout the other municipalities as well. So we implemented a scholarship program stating where the citizen has to provide some type of documentation stating whether they get free or reduced lunch at school, or they receive some type of government benefits to be able to apply for the scholarship.
So you said Nashville will do their own, and county will do their own.
Can you repeat that?
The county will be responsible for assisting their own, and Nashville will do theirs.
No. So they will come fill the scholarship program, scholarship form out with the county.
The county.
Yes, and if they have to provide the documentation to be eligible for the scholarship.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Other comments? Mr. Lynn?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Thomas and particularly Vince for their hard work on this agreement. It's had several different versions. At first, the $20,000 was going to come to us. The town of Nashville preferred that they control that money, and we're okay with that, staff is. I do have a question about the employee. There was 2 employees with Nashville, and one's retiring. So we, in negotiations, agreed to take over the other employee who is a maintenance person. That person will be working at Glover Park, but will also be working at other parks throughout the county. My question is, if this is effective upon ratification or upon approval, do we need to do something today? I mean, when will that employee come over here?
I was thinking that we get them in on, if the board approves the agreement, we get them in on February 3rd.
February 3rd?
Correct. That's because
That's
I
a
know.
Monday?
Yes. So I know the
Okay.
county, Anderson, they normally do the HR orientations on the 1st and the 15th.
Well, I would just ask the board to, when it approves this agreement, to instruct us as part of the agreement to create this position to come back on the 3rd, so we can add it to our employment numbers.
Okay. Is the 3rd the right day, that start of pay period?
Well, it starts the 1st. It's Saturday, Sundays, 1st and 2nd. So,
Can't we do it now? In the same
If
vote.
we can do it now in the same vote, that would be great. And then we'll just put it together and provide it to you. But yeah, you can authorize this position to be established
Why
today.
not do it now?
That's a good idea.
I'll call for a motion when I get to
If you
that
do
point.
this, come to that point.
Yeah. we
That's
do.
all I have.
Was there any other comments?
Just thanks for all your hard work.
Thomas, what do you say, Ms. Wells?
She said thank you for the hard
Thank
work.
Thomas
Okay,
for it.
I got you. Okay, I didn't quite catch that. And I ditto that, Thomas. I know from the meeting I went to over at Nashville, things looked pretty doubtful when we left there that night.
It did. It really did.
But apparently, you worked a whole lot since then and to get it to where you got it, and I appreciate that. I think we'll all be, both sides will be very satisfied after we get through the first year. But I want to thank you as well. Did you?
As I do, Thomas, thank you.
Well, thank y'all for
wanna add
having
anything
having
else?
support for the Recreation Department.
Right. Well, what I need to do then, our charge is to call for a motion to approve or deny the request and included in that motion the authorization for the county to accept that employee and do the necessary arrangements in the finance department to create that position in the HR department. So whoever wants to make that request, make that motion.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman,
All right, I got to start over here first. Let me see.
She got a motion, she made a
Have a
motion.
motion from Ms.
Okay.
Williams.
and that motion include taking over that employee, okay.
I think she,
I'll second it.
okay, I think, as I stated it, she made that motion. And I have a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion stands approved, and I will sign it if it's available today.
Okay. Once again, just want to thank the administration for the county and the members of the board and for supporting our Recreation Department, and I think this would be best for both the town and the county. Thank you.
Did we
Thank
meet
you.
the deadline we were trying to meet for the sports that start right along in now? You're okay with that?
We're good to go.
Good to go,
We're
great.
good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I must get less, but I just want to say thank you for your hard work and input and for keeping us informed periodically. Hey, if we're not doing so good, keep us up. If we are, just let us know every once in a while. We're doing good, and we
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate your help.
Thank you.
And it's good that municipal government and county government can work together.
Absolutely.
It strengthens all concerned.
All right, we're now on item number 9, which is the courtyard nomination process. And Stacy, I'll call on you. This is
They got this.
another very long time project we have worked on. So-
Right, and I apologize again, it's actually 9 minus 2, it's item number 7, because I got your number in wrong at the beginning of your agenda, and I apologize for that.
Well, you told me to ignore the numbers, so I'll do that, whatever it may be.
Okay. Yes, so this is about our commemorative courtyard, and as you all know, we got that established last year and honored our former commissioner, Mr. Billy Morgan, and I was asked to put together some guidelines for you all to review for us to have a nomination process for the annual, I guess, putting some new individuals into the commemorative courtyard. So several weeks back, I sent you all an email and provided you with a draft copy of those nomination guidelines, and those were attached to your agenda here today. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and ask for you to adopt those nomination guidelines.
All right, I'm sure the board's had a chance to look at those, and I know we've worked on it quite a bit. Any questions or comments on what we have here today?
Stacy, this doesn't have to do with the requirements, but how many inquiries have you had already?
We've had a couple of suggestions from board members, no one from the outside at this point, but once we get some nomination guidelines in place and we can get those out on the website, I'm sure that will change.
Very good.
Yeah. I did want to add that today is January the 21st. Moving forward, what the guidelines say is that we'll open up that nomination period from January 1st to March 31st. And that way, the board will have some more information to work with at budget time to be able to plan for the following year for the commemorative courtyard budget.
Does that mean we have a 3-month period each year to accept those nominations?
Correct.
Okay. Other comments, questions?
Will you provide us with the application form today, or?
That was part of the packet that you received? Yes, uh-huh.
It's in there.
Okay,
I'll,
thank you.
Does it include living as well as deceased?
Correct.
I just want to make sure.
Good question. All right, no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request or deny the request.
So moved to approve.
Have a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion stands approved.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am, and while you are there, we'll move to item number 8, which is board appointments.
Board appointments. The first one is for the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA. As you all know, we've been looking for a new collector member. Chairman Davis is recommending Lisa Ferguson, and her application is in your agenda packet.
Lisa works for,
Holiday
Carolina.
Inn, Hampton Inn, First Carolina
I
Management.
couldn't get the name quite right. And we currently do not have a member from that organization on the board, and I've always tried to not have multiple members from one organization, so we've had some in the past, but a lot of those have been transferred to other locations. If no questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve this one.
Move for approval.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. I do have, while we're on that one, more appointments coming up in April for this board, and I've got a couple that would have it used up their 3 terms. So if you would keep that in mind and be thinking about someone, Mr. Bellfield, I will tell you ahead of time that one of those is one of our 4 minority members. So I know we always want to try to keep a certain number on each board as much as we can. So just keep that in mind. And actually, I think the lady lives in your district, Miss Davis.
Miss who?
Miss Davis, Lydia Davis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think that was one of your suggestions at some time back.
Is her time expired?
Yes.
I tell you, time moves fast.
It moves real fast. It kind of caught me by
Yeah.
surprise. I had asked her to update on it, and she sent me that this morning, so I got a little work to do on it. I've got a full board for the first time in a long time now, but we've got some more work to do, so I'm just trying to give you a little notice.
Okay.
That comes up in April.
If the board agree, I'll find somebody to replace her.
Okay, and that is a public member, her position is, so it does not have to be in the
Yeah.
industry. Okay, all right, good. All right, go ahead.
Okay, the next is for the Nash Healthcare Systems Board of Commissioners. Terms expired on December 31st, 2019 for Board of Commissioner members Jim Lilly, Sue Leggett, Ivan Peacock, and Bill Lennis. The Nash Healthcare Systems Board of Commissioners voted to forward the following members for reappointment. Sue Leggett for her first full term after serving the remaining term for Lisa Barnes. Ivan Peacock for his 3rd full term, and Bill Lennis for his 2nd full term. Mr. Lilly has served 3 full terms and is ineligible for reappointment. The Board of Commissioners at Nash Healthcare Systems is requesting the appointment of Robbie Green, whose CV was in your agenda package.
I will tell you, I did ask to have that table at the last meeting because I just hadn't had time to study particularly the new person, and once I was able to study this and find out the person that I did know, I didn't realize I knew her, but it is actually Mr. Green with the Boys Club's wife, so you'll know who she is. And so I'm perfectly satisfied with the 4 appointments that were
Ron
made.
Green's.
Yeah.
Wife.
Okay.
His
That's
wife.
right. Yeah.
Move approval.
All right, have a motion to approve these 4. Any 3 reappointments, 1 new appointment. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Outlaw, we are now on the new item 9. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, and again, in the interest of time, just report on significant items. If your board has not met, just indicate no report. We'll start with District 1, Commissioner Richardson.
Yes, sir. Due to the holidays, we did individual visits, but we had not had a corporate meeting, so now there's no report today.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Juvenile Crime Prevention Council met last week, and basically, the groups that were funded gave report updates, and they were instructed on applying for grants for 2020. And there will be an evaluation done by the evaluation team of each one of the programs before they accept it for grants for 2020. And that's basically the report. Tar River Transit will meet next month. Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government meets tonight. And so that's the only report that I have.
Thank you.
Need meets Thursday night, so they haven't met yet.
Anybody have any questions for Commissioner Belfield? Hearing none. District 3, Commissioner Cone.
I have no reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Cone. District 4, Commissioner Leggett.
Yes, sir. The hospital board, we met on the first Thursday. We meet the first Thursday of every month. And patient deliverables and reviews continue to be positive and improving. And also their financials are trending better than budgeted. So that's a positive thing also.
Anybody have any questions for Commissioner Leggett? Hearing none. District 5. I'm going to talk about the RPO first. 2014 through 18 vehicle crash information from the January meeting. This just compares information from Nash, Wilson, and Edgecombe County. It compares Johnston County as well. But I have extracted that crash information, made a copy of it, and it will be in your mailbox. And on any handout that I have, if the media would like a copy, then I can provide that. But that information is will be in your box. It's fairly informative. The data varies significantly in large part due to the number of registered vehicles per county. Nash has got, through this report, 97,724 registered vehicles. Wilson has got 75,317 registered vehicles. And Edgecombe County has got 44,752 registered vehicles. And our next RPO meeting is March the 11th. Nash Community College Board of Trustees, I don't have anything significant to report from the November 18th meeting. Our next meeting will be January the 27th. Broadband, Ms. McGee has provided a good update. That information will be in your mailbox. And again, if the media would like a copy of that information, I can provide it. Any questions? Hearing none. District 6, Commissioner Wells.
I am actually not on Turning Point Board anymore, so you can remove that.
Need to take Turning Point Board.
And STEP's having a retreat Friday. If someone is interested in my position on that board, I will be glad to let them have it. If not, I'll see if I can continue to do it. They have been meeting with students, taking people from different manufacturers and meeting with students in engineering and carrying them out to lunch to try to make students realize they can be what they want to be.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. District 7, and after Chairman Davis provides his report, then turn the meeting back over to you, Chairman.
Mr. Wells, just to make sure I understood the statement you just made, do you desire to have someone else fill that position on STEP?
I just am not going to be able to make the retreat Friday.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't think we could fill somebody by Friday, but
No,
how
I
about
know that
long,
not, but I'm just
going?
thinking if somebody's interested in it, If not, I'm having some stuff done. I would like to wait till I got my test back before I make my final result. If somebody wants it, they can have it.
I think we'll wait for your final results, if that's okay with you. But you and I can talk later about it. I'll get a better understanding. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking for. But for my reports on the Tourism Development Authority, I passed down a handout from our meeting we had last week that just updates you on how we're doing budget-wise. If you'll just take that with you and review it. Revenues look very good. I will tell you that on the revenue sheet, as you can see, we're a little bit over half of our budget at this point in time, and that was actually for 5 months, not 6 months, so we're actually trending real well. And as far as expenses, we have paid out everybody that was funded this past year except for the Blooming Festival, which we all know is held in May, so that request should be coming shortly. And the Nashville lighting, which we agreed to pay for, I think Ms. Wood and the new finance director for the town of Nashville is working on that to get the bills in, and those lights, of course, are on now. But everything is going real well. We had a good meeting last week, and revenue certainly looks real good at the present time, as you can see. On the MPO, we did have one meeting that parallel with our commissioner meeting that lasted so long that day, and I did not get there, but there was no action taken, so really nothing to report there. And our next meeting is coming up on February the 17th, and we don't have a meeting that day, so I'll be sure to attend that. And that is my report from the two items that I'm on.
Any questions for the chairman?
I'd like to make an announcement that was given out at the JC.
Yes, sir.
BC meeting. It's on human trafficking. They call it Human Trafficking 101. And it'll be on Thursday, January the 30th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And they'll have light supper will be available, and it's free. But it's going to be at the Edgecombe County Public Library in Tarboro, and it's sponsored by East Point, but they said at the meeting that anyone that's interested in human trafficking can attend, but they do ask you to call and let them know that you're coming. And the telephone number is on here, and it's 919-985-0916.
All right.
And I'll, yeah,
Date again.
I'll just pass it on down, let everybody see.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I would see any commissioner had any other thing they wanted to say. Mr. Belfield just had one item. Anything else before I call for a closed session? I will, from myself, plan to do another State of the County at our next meeting in February, as I have done the last 3 years. I would very much like to hear from each commissioner on anything you want highlighted in that report, and I would certainly include it. If you could get that to me over the next week, maybe, to give me time to prepare the report. And of course, after the State of the County, we would also have the new scheduled updates on the detention center, which would be facilities and operations. So we'll have that. Really all I had today. Mr. Manager, did you have anything that you wanted to do? All right. Well, at this time, I would entertain, we are going to have a closed session, and the closed session is for a matter of attorney-client privilege and one personnel matter as well. I do expect some motions to be made after the closed session for benefit of the press, possibly, and those items, we will come back out in open session and make those motions if indeed the board agrees to do that. But we've got an item we need to go over with the attorney prior to taking action on. So if there are no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session for those two items at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion to go into closed session, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you. I'll call our regular meeting for the Nassau County Board of Commissioners back to order at this time.
Yes.
We discussed numerous items in closed session, and we, at this time, have two items concerning the National Rocky Mount Board of Education that we wish to make a motion for. And the first motion is concerning the naming of the school. And Mr. Outlaw, I understand you are willing to make this motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion reads as follows. Nash County is the primary local funder for the Nash County Public School System. We therefore move that the public school system be named the Nash County School Administrative Unit and the Board of Education be named the Nash County Board of Education. We will further request that the General Assembly, upon reconvening in the April 2020 short session, take action to effectuate this request by correcting the language in Session Law 2016-14, Senate Bill 382, Section 5, to read as follows. Notwithstanding Chapter 391 of the 1991 Session Laws, beginning July 1, 2020, the Nash Rocky Mount School Administrative Unit shall be named the Nash County School Administrative Unit, and the Nash Rocky Mount Board of Education shall be the Nash County Board of Education. Mr. Chairman, I offer that motion.
Have a motion, is there a second to the motion?
I second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Or any opposed to the motion? Motion stands approved unanimously.
And we've got copies of this if the press would like to have a copy.
All right. The next item we discussed with the attorney was funding for the new proposed elementary school in the northern Nash area. And Mr. Belfield, I understand you have a motion you wish to make on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we inform the Board of Education that the Nash County Commissioners have not established a capital budget ordinance to build a new elementary school. This capital budget ordinance will be established by the Board of Commissioners at such time as the school board agrees to work together with this Board of Commissioners in a spirit of cooperation to build the best school possible, utilizing the talents of both boards to do what is best for our children and for the taxpayers of Nash County.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any commissioner have a question or comment about the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well unanimously. Is there any more business before the board at this time? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this session of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? I hope not. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign, we stand adjourned. Thank you.